In the last video, I told you how you could get enough folate. In this video, I'm going to tell you how you can supercharge your folate status with pasture-raised egg yolks and sprouted legumes. Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Masterjohn of chrismasterjohnphd.com, and you're watching Chris Masterjohn Lite, where the name of the game is Details Schmetails. Just tell me what works. Here is how you can potentially supercharge your folate status. Let's first take the case of the egg yolk. An egg is not one of the 3 L's, one of the great sources of folate, the liver, legumes, and leafy greens, but it's a half-decent source of folate. And most of that folate is in the egg yolk. Now, chickens often eat things like corn, not one of the 3 L's, dried, stored for who knows how long under what conditions. But chickens can be raised on pasture, and if they're raised on pasture, they're eating a lot of grass. Grass is a leafy green, one of the 3 L's. Not only that, but they eat the grass while it's growing in the ground. And if it's really, really fresh, then that's when the folate is going to be at its highest concentration. So it makes sense that pasture-raised chickens would produce eggs with a lot more folate than conventionally raised chickens. Joel Salatin is the person who runs Polyface Farms, and he raises his chickens on pasture. In his book, Folks, This Ain't Normal, repeated in his book, The Marvelous Pigness of Pigs, he cites data showing that his egg yolks have 1,200 micrograms of folate per egg, compared to only 47 micrograms in the USDA database. That means, if it's true, that his egg yolks have over 20 times more folate than conventionally raised egg yolks do. And if that's the case, you could eat a half an egg yolk per day and fulfill your folate requirement. I do not feel comfortable saying that these eggs are so rich in folate that you should just ignore getting enough of the 3 L's. And the reason is, first of all, it's hard to trace this data back. It comes from Mother Earth News, and Mother Earth News did publish data on their website documenting the nutrients in pasture-raised eggs versus conventionally raised eggs. But they don't list folate there. And I'm not questioning that the data exists, but if it's only one piece of data, there could be an error. It could be random fluctuation. We don't really know. Furthermore, even if Polyface Farms eggs have that much folate, it doesn't mean that every egg that's labeled as pasture does. And ultimately, there's no scientific papers published in the peer-reviewed literature that document anywhere near that level of folate in an egg yolk. So I don't feel comfortable saying that pasture-raised egg yolks are so rich in folate that you can eat a small amount of them and ignore all the other folate-rich foods. But I do feel comfortable saying that pasture-raised egg yolks are almost certainly richer in folate than regular egg yolks, and it's quite possible that if you consume good amounts of other folate-rich foods, adding some pasture-raised egg yolks to your diet just might supercharge your folate. Now let's talk about sprouted legumes. The data that are shown on the screen are from a recent study where they looked at what happens to the folate concentration in a handful of varieties of soybeans and mung beans during the course of sprouting. And on the far left, you see the amount of folate in the raw seed. But then up through the 4th day of sprouting, the folate concentration increases 3, 4, 5, or even close to 6 times higher. After the 4th day, folate starts declining again, and on the 10th day, it's still higher than it originally was in the raw seed, but clearly the peak concentration of folate is on the 4th day of sprouting. Now, this would imply that if you get 4th day sprouts, you can, instead of eating 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 servings of legumes, depending on which legumes they are, you could cut that down to less than a half a serving per day and get enough folate. Once again, I don't feel comfortable smacking a number on that and telling you that this is a reason to avoid eating other folate-rich foods. The reason is we don't have enough data on the diversity of sprouting conditions, sprouting techniques, and different sprouted products. I like to eat True Roots sprouted lentils. I contacted True Roots to ask them, how many days do you sprout your lentils for? And they told me they'd get back to me. That was weeks ago and they haven't gotten back to me. So I have no idea whether the sprouted legumes that are on the market sold as sprouted legumes are second day sprouts, fourth day sprouts, 10th day sprouts. So we need to measure folate in the actual products sold in the market. And if we're going to make recommendations for home sprouting, we really need to measure this in a greater diversity of conditions and a greater diversity of different types of legumes. Nevertheless, I do feel absolutely comfortable saying that if you make sure to get your several servings of folate-rich foods a day, you can, on top of this, make the legumes sprouted. If you sprout them at home, stop at the fourth day. And you can consume some pasture-raised egg yolks, and this will take your folate over and above what you would otherwise get and help supercharge your folate. All right, I hope you found this useful. Signing off, this is Chris Masterjohn of chrismasterjohnphd.com. You've been watching Chris Masterjohn Lite, and I will see you in the next video.